Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
One day, a very gentle, sweet Texas lady was driving across a bridge in Austin, Texas. As she neared the top of the bridge, she noticed a young man fixin' to jump. Fixin' to, in Texas, means getting ready to. She stopped her car and rolled down the window and said, "Please, please don't jump. Think of your dear mother and father." The man replied, "My mom and dad are dead. I'm going to jump." She said, "Well, think of your sweet wife and your precious children." The man said, "I'm not married, and I don't have any kids." She said, well, then you just remember the Alamo." And the man replied, "What's the Alamo?" And the sweet little lady said curtly, "Well, bless your little heart. You just go ahead and jump, you little Yankee Democrat. You're holding up traffic." Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Tuesday. Oh, I love that tune. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody out there in Radio Land. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Right now, our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jerry. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your call. Right now, it's time for our weather. And the weather brought to you by Roger and the crew at K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Had him on the program a couple of weeks ago, I think it was. And K&R Rental opens the doors early in the morning at 7 and stays open until 5:30. And then on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Whoa, baby, I tell you what, they've got all the equipment, all the tools, everything you need to get a job finished and right. Absolutely. Power tools, heavy equipment, forklifts, all the way to lawnmowers. And they've been in business since 1979. You stop over, see them today, or give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. And now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Well, it looks like we could get somewhat of a little bit of a reprieve here with the weather. Good morning with your Zeb of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. 20% chance of isolated thunderstorms today, a high near 85. Then for tonight, 20 to 30% chance of showers, expecting the low just about 61. Then for tomorrow, chance of showers going to be increasing to about 40%, highs of 85. Slight chance of thunderstorms for Wednesday night, lows around 60. Going to be clearing off towards the end of the weekend. Going to see highs getting up about to 90, into the mid-90s there as we go into the weekend. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron.
Scotty, thank you. Good job, man. Brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, 678-3122. And by the way, they're a Honda engine dealer, and they've got all the parts you might need for those wheel lines at K&R Rental. Oh, Holy moly, don't forget on Thursday, it is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Merv May, Cade Rogge, Lance Udy, the sale that works for you. Absolutely. And telephone number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Thursday, sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. You be sure and be there on Thursday. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated this morning. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In just a moment, I want to talk about something that I had mentioned on my program about 8-9 days ago. And I talked about a certain type of child abuse. Well, last night I happened to catch some more about the same subject I was talking about with a lady that's one of the heads of the American Pediatrics Association. And we're going to be talking about that in just a moment, and I welcome your calls. By the way, don't forget Daryl's Cleaners. I've got to get in there today. I've got a whole bunch of clothes to pick up, and I got a whole bunch to drop off. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Make your clothes last longer. Nothing's cheap anymore today, man. And I'm telling you what, if you've got something you really enjoy, you better take care of it. Dry cleaning will help do that process of taking care of your clothes. At Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see my friends today. Really good folks. You know, here the other day, we were talking about forms of child abuse, and I said on the air, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart, that these parents, like that Canadian mom and dad, if you want to call them that, pushing for the sex change of their child that's under 3 years of age, and another one doesn't even want to have the gender listed, possibly until the baby, grows into an 18-year-old or 21-year-old. And what's going on here is just absolutely a flagrant violation of anything that is civilized. I said that the foundation of trying to push their children into transgenderism is a form of child abuse. And I absolutely stand behind that. Well, a lady was on from the American Pediatrics Association, and she agrees. Kids are not being allowed in many, many instances today to be kids. They're not allowed to grow and develop and have fun as kids. And we have some of these absolutely PC liberal, just call it what it is, Zeb, stupid parents that with children as young as 3 years of age. I mean, when I heard this just took the top of my head right off. As young as 3 years of age are being pushed into possible sex change operations. And the children, are also being given puberty blockers to stop normal development. If anybody out there can tell me this isn't bordering on insanity and being inhumane to our children, I'd like to know what it is. Just imagine, 20 years from now, that changed child is an adult and realizes that they really are a boy or really are a girl. And everything that has been done to them, everything that has been forced upon them by their parents, again, call them what you will, is absolutely going to blow their mind, their personality. I can't imagine what it would be like. What are your thoughts on this? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, pick up the phone, dial the number. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Open the doors at 7:30 this morning till 5 this afternoon, Monday through Friday. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and all your air filters for your air conditioners. You know, They've got it all over there for you. And you want to see a busy place, just stand there by the door. Open, close, open, close, open, close, all day long. People really respect these folks. They've been in business for over a half a century. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. You stop in and see them today. By the way, I had a call yesterday, as a matter of fact. A gentleman said, I went into Denny's restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley for the first time last week. Absolutely took your advice, had the strawberry cream pancakes, and he said they were delicious. Oh, my goodness. And all the breakfasts are delicious. You know, whatever you want. All the burgers. They got a new line of burgers, all the different burgers. Oh, fantabulous. Two locations, 611 North Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, absolutely America's restaurant. And the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, Denny's Restaurant. Come on now, folks. Don't hesitate. Don't be squeamish on the topic or anything. Just give me a call and let me have your thoughts. But you know, this altering and saying, well, no, he this little boy, no, he likes little girls' things, and he likes little girls' dresses and everything, so we'll go ahead and we'll prepare for a sex change operation. I've said it before. I'm not going to weaken. I'm not going to change my ways. God does not make mistakes. God does not make mistakes. And for us, humans, to look at a little child and say, well, look, he likes that, so evidently he meant to be a her, so we'll go ahead. How devastating to that person who really at 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11, I don't care to the age, no say in the matter, until all of a sudden, boom, later on in life, they realize, what? What have my parents done to me? Calls welcome. Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, too, I want to say thank you to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. After all the surgeries I've had recently, and kind of, you know, being a little stiff and sore and cranky and saying, wow, I didn't think I'd be this long healing up, they shortened everything with their great exercise programs and getting in the hydrotherapy pool. Absolutely. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. They can help you, like they helped me, get back to being like you. Absolutely. Great physical therapists, know everything about the exercises, and like I said, they've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its type in this area, and they are good. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191. You give them a call today. By the way, too, our thanks. I'll tell you what, caller, if you don't mind waiting 30 seconds, I'll be right with you. I want to thank everybody at Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. They make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place, and they invite the public to visit their facility anytime. Anytime for tours. Check them out for the possibility of your loved one staying there. Absolutely great people, only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Caller, good morning. How are you?
Doing good, Zeb. How are you?
I am fantastic. What can I do for you?
Well, I was just listening to what you had to say, and I was thinking back when I was a kid, and it was back about the same time when you were a kid. And, you know, we used to dress up in our mom's clothes and our dad's clothes, and part of the time we'd be a woman, and part of the time we'd be a man. But it sure didn't bring upon us any desire to have sex changes and stuff. And I don't know just what it is in our society that has brought this about, but it's sad that you know, that it has to be such a real thing just because some little kid says, I want to wear Daddy's clothes today. Oh, we better let her be a boy because she wants to wear Daddy's clothes. Man, I can remember numerous times that part of the time we were guys in our play and part of the time we were girls, and it didn't change us.
Yeah. You know, I'm really concerned about where this is going in our society because there's no rules and regulations. There's no right and wrong. And I just can't even imagine. I know the lady that was talking about this last night on television with the American Pediatrics. She was extremely concerned about what's going to happen mentally and psychologically to these people when they get to be young adults and they realize they really are a boy and really are a girl, and what has been done to them by their mothers and fathers and society. This is absolutely, it's criminally inhumane.
Yeah, I thought I was really abused because my mom and dad gave me a first name that I didn't like. Boy, I'll tell you what, there's a whole different world now, Zeb.
Yeah, but it's a world that has to change. I mean that because we cannot travel down this path. I mean, yesterday we had a story about putting in implants so that it'd be easier to buy snack food. I mean, what is going on with us as humans? We're going nuts.
Yeah, it's just people are. I don't know if it's our instant society or what, that people just. They don't want to have to make any effort to do anything at all, including work, including, get out of their car. You go to stores now. I noticed recently, I believe it was Lowe's or Home Depot One has a delivery deal. You can go up to one deal, tell them what you want, and they're going to bring it out to your car for you.
Yeah.
It's getting sad when we can't step out of the car door and walk in the store and go through the store and find what we need.
Amen.
It's our instant society, and I agree with you. You're right. We've got to do something about it.
Well, I appreciate...
I have something else I wanted to share with you. You just mentioned a few minutes ago in your advertising, Ramsey Electric. My son and I recently did kind of a little project for a friend of ours. He had a hip operation. His bathroom floor was falling through, and we decided we were going to fix his bathroom floor, and it ended up being a complete bathroom remodel that took a month and 2 days, 243 and a half hours of labor. And, we did the labor because we loved the guy, but I got to tell you, Ramsey's Electric, Franklin's Building Supply, Standard Plumbing in Burley, Idaho, local businesses absolutely bent over backwards to help us with this project.
Well, wonderful.
And I'm probably going to cry. It just touches my heart so much. They were so helpful to us. It's a job we could not have done without what they did for us. And if anybody ever thinks that going to a big city and a big business to buy your stuff is what you ought to be doing, I used to think the same thing too, but I'll never do it again, Seth.
There you go.
My hometown businesses are the people that I'll be supporting because, man, they sure supported us in that deal.
And God bless you for what you did. And just thank the good Lord above that I was not the neighbor that was asked to repair the bathroom, or it would have been much better for that person to build an outdoor privy because I'm not very talented.
Well, it was kind of funny because you know me. I think you know who you're talking about.
Yes, I do.
And I'm a Pollyanna, and I thought, oh, sure, we could go in there, and we'll put a little patch over that floor, and it'll be fine. Well, my son, Jared, who you also know, went in there and took one stomp with his foot and went right through the floor, clear to the ground.
Oh, my.
And he said, this could be a little bigger project than we thought, Mom. And that kid just busted his butt to do an amazing job. But I really want to say, to those three businesses especially, but also Ace Hardware was really there for us. They had things that we needed. There was every business we went to in Burley, Idaho was just wonderful. I mean, and Rupert and Paul. We went to all three of those businesses and got help with this project. But those three businesses specifically, I mean, they gave us like their employee prices or even went clear down to their cost on something.
Well, that is nice. You did a great service.
Amazing. I just want to really tout them because they were just amazing. And then Del Whipple, bless his heart, he gave us a bunch of thank you notes so that we could tell everybody thanks. He donated a little bit there to help us out, too, and we sure appreciated that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate that, and I'm sure the people did, too. But and old Colonel Dale, I'll tell you what, now there is a man with the kindest heart in the world. Thank you for your call. I got to run and do a commercial, but thank you so much.
You betcha.
All righty. That was nice. Hey, good morning, and give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What is going on up in Shoshone? Well, it's the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo, the best country county fair in the United States. I mean, they really know how to have fun as a country original county fair. Holy cow, they've got ranch rodeo tomorrow night. Yep. Big Ranch Rodeo tomorrow night, and then the IMPRA Rodeo on Thursday and Friday night, and then the big truck and tractor pull. Holy cow, they've got all kinds of fun for you. But, all the food booths, the rides, this is a country county fair at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo in Shoshone. From pioneer days to modern ways, up at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, yesterday we talked on the air about the CEO of this company in Wisconsin that was really promoting these implantations of the microchips for his employees, and 50, and I'm just going to call them the way I think they are, stupid employees said they'd go ahead and put the microchips in their hand so that they could easier buy snacks. What? This is so insane to me. And this CEO of this company was on television this morning. And I got to tell you, from his mannerisms and his speech, he is not going to be judged to be the brightest bulb in the fixture at the ceiling, I'll tell you that. And he said, this is great. This is phenomenal, putting these chips in their hands. And it's a wave of the future. And then he said something that really bothered me. He said it is the right thing to do. Audience, I may not be the best Christian in the world. I've got a lot of holes in my screen door. But I do know the Bible and its word, and I would never, ever accept the implantation of a microchip, which basically to me means accepting the mark of the beast. For all your purchases, put your hand here. For this, for your health care information, put your hand up here. Whatever, we want to know more about where you are 24/7, 365. Put your hand up in the air. I'm not going to do that. I would never submit to that. And when this man said, oh, well, it's the right thing to do, I about threw up. Because it is not the right thing to do. Have we got so lazy and so inept to try to be individuals and try to be responsible for our own lives that we're just going to accept Big Brother to come into our lives, watch us 24/7, feed us 24/7. Oh, well, if they want to know about all my health care, go ahead, find out anything. I don't care. I'm just too lazy to stand up and say no. And this stupid CEO, and he is stupid, said, when asked about, well, aren't you concerned that with the implantation of these little microchips that the government and others would be able to obtain a whole bunch of information about you? And he said, oh, no, they wouldn't do that without our consent. The man is very stupid and very naive. What are your thoughts on this? Would you consent? I mean, if your employer walked up to you today, and we talked about it yesterday, I'm talking about it again today, and said, Bernie, I'll tell you what, we've got a company policy now that you have to have an implantation of a computer chip in between your thumb and your forefinger, and we're going to get everybody together Friday morning and stick those in there. I would absolutely be looking for other employment. There's a lot of jobs out there for people that want to work. And I'll tell you what I would say to my boss, when you leave this afternoon, don't let the door hit you in the posterior. I would never submit to that. Would you? Call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental, they really are something special because they've got 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome and Addison Avenue West in Twin, Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got all the Bobcat excavators, all shapes and sizes. Caller, I'll be right there. They've got all the Walker mowers. Oh, you can mow like the pros do. They've got the best of equipment rentals and retail equipment sales, and you know, they've got great people like old Juan over there at the Burley location, Eli, the whole crew in Twin. I mean, everybody, they know what's going on with equipment because they have all the equipment to get the job done right. Berry Equipment and Rental. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yep. You know, I woke up this morning, it was kind of dingy outside, and I kind of felt a little bit of fall in the air. But then when I started listening to you, it didn't get any better.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you.
What's that?
I said thanks a lot for the negativity towards me. Thank you.
No, it isn't you, but what I'm getting at is all these things that are so wrong, sex changes, a chip and that sort of thing. What am I going to do? But talking about the chip, I don't care how much money your employer offered me, I would not accept it.
Yeah.
Because I got enough things in my past that I wouldn't want to reveal to everybody. And if you had that chip, I guarantee you they'll record everything you do and everything you say. And if you leave their employment, they're going to use that against you.
I have absolutely complete wonderment as to why anybody would want to put a chip in their system, their body, so that others will know what they are, who they are, where they are, what they spend, what they earn, what their health is. I mean, that to me is absolutely beyond the realm of any possibility. I would tell that guy with the chip he can stick that chip someplace else.
Yeah. And you know, let's go back to the days of Ronald Reagan. If they'd have dug up his past, every little thing, like he was a Democrat at one time, and all these things, it would have been terrible.
Yeah, but it's nobody's business, Keith.
To destroy a person's reputation.
The only information I want about you, Keith Cottom, is information that you are willing to share in a conversation. It is not my right to know about your past. It's not my right to talk about anything that you did or didn't do or should have done and get that information without your knowledge. And that's the problem today. We have too many people that want to take too many moves against society and know everything about everybody, and I think in that case hold it over them.
Yeah, it's just like this son-in-law of the president's. You know, he told him what he knew and everything, and then you got this Ron Wyden, who's a senator from Oregon, that comes on and says, "No, I want to go a little deeper."
Yeah.
You know, let's put it this way: if all the friends you've got, Zeb, and that's a lot, if you knew the past on each one of them, say, would they be your friend then?
You know,
not.
You know, Keith,
they would know everything about you and wouldn't judge you for who you are today.
Yeah, I just don't want to have a society to where some geek is sitting at a desk and they're taking the tape transcripts of everything that I've done during yesterday, and they're relating it to everything I've done today, and all the people that I've talked to, and all the people that I've associated with, and where I went, and when I stopped to buy gas or whatever. I mean, that is a sick, perverted society, and I will never in my lifetime conform to that idiocy.
I agree with you. Now they have telltale things like in trucks.
Yeah.
A good example is Transsystems, who hauls the sugar beets. They have things in the truck that they know if you stopped at this store to get a soda or anything else, they know everything about what happened to that truck.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. One of my dear friends is a driver, and believe me, the intrusion, and I think it is the word intrusion, absolutely is ridiculous. Keith, I got to run. Thank you so much for your call. God bless you, man. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, sir. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to ask you, if I'm missing something here this morning, I want you to fill in the blanks for me. Would you please? All right, now here was the headline on the front page of the USA Today yesterday. Okay, here's the headline. USA split on Trump impeachment. Think about what I just read. USA split on Trump impeachment. That headline right there gives the inference that, well, it's a done deal. Trump is going to be impeached, and there's a split across the country on Trump impeachment. What? On what charges? On what grounds? For what? Somebody call me right now and tell me, for what crime or misdemeanor? And when you have newspapers blatantly putting out headlines like this, USA split on Trump impeachment, don't you absolutely think that it sounds like a done deal? Somebody please tell me, where's the evidence of wrongdoing? Where's the evidence of this collusion? Where is the evidence of crimes, like I said a moment ago, and misdemeanors? And then I listened very carefully last night to about 6 or 7 different interviews with Democrats, and my temper is not a long fuse with these people. And they always include the words, listen to this, we think, or we know, or Trump may have or might have, or there's a good chance. They always include those words, like we think he did this, we know he did this, and then any good interviewer would say, well, if you're going to make a definitive, we know statement, then you have the proof. Well, no, it's forthcoming, but we know. Where is the proof or the truth? 7 months of Democrats blowing hot air. Please, somebody tell me right now this morning, somebody that all of a sudden has been gifted with a lightning bolt from above that has provided them absolutely 100% sure information of wrongdoing and evidence, call me immediately, and then we will attach this headline, USA split on Trump impeachment, as if it were a done deal. You can't do it. The Democrats can't do it. They are doing nothing but just blowing hot air. And I'm fed up with it. I hope you are too. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And the biggest hot air balloon of the Democratic Party has got to be, without a shadow of a doubt, Maxine Waters. This very repugnant, unlikable, racist woman from California is absolutely one of the most shallow and misguided people that I have ever heard or watched or whatever read about. She is absolutely a racist. She's so biased and so loony. And there have been inferences that maybe, oh, heaven help all of us, she might throw her frilly, funny little hat that might be attached to one of her wigs into the ring to be president fodder in 2020. Now, I just can't imagine, as much as I think that a lot or most of the Democrats are deranged, how in the world could they honestly support someone like Maxine Waters? You got to help me with that one, please. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. I want to hear from you. By the way, I mentioned yesterday about the annual community ice cream social. I love ice cream socials. I think that's the greatest way in the world in the summertime for everybody to get together and just have a really neat night. I love those. The annual community ice cream social is going to be Sunday, August 13th at 6 p.m. on the yard of the Rupert United Methodist Church, 605 8th Street on the front lawn. Homemade ice cream? I love homemade ice cream, cake, and everything else, and entertainment by David and Melissa Bowman, and it is free. Love that word. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, don't weaken on me. I want to hear from you this morning, so give us a call if you would. I'm going to do a weather forecast, and then I'd love to have some more of your calls. Please, just really enjoy sharing with you. And I'm going to talk about now while we're at the movies, the movies might be watching us. I'm not kidding. Weather this hour is being brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Dr. Christine Pickup and her staff. Oh, my goodness, the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho. And if you've noticed a little diminishment in your hearing, I really urge you to call for a hearing screening today. Not going to hurt you. It's fun, really. And you might find out that you have some problems with maybe a disease that's causing a lack of hearing or medicine that you're taking, whatever. Please nail it down so you can be helped at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. And the number to call for an appointment, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's old Scotty with the weather.
Looks like we could get somewhat of a little bit of a reprieve here with the weather. Good morning with your Zip of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. 20% chance of isolated thunderstorms today, a high near 85. Then for tonight, 20 to 30% chance of showers. Expecting the low just about 61. Then for tomorrow, chance of showers going to be increasing to about 40%. Highs of 85. Slight chance of thunderstorms for Wednesday night. Lows around 60. Going to be clearing off towards the end of the weekend. Going to see highs getting up about to 90 into the mid-90s there as we go into the weekend. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron.
Scotty. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And filling in for Gina today with our weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Yes, I urge you to give them a call. Set up a hearing screening appointment today. They're right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. The number, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, come on. My goodness, let's have some calls. Rise and shine. Sip that coffee or hot chocolate or hot tea and give me a jingle. Love to hear from you. I just heard this story this morning. I don't really have any written info on it other than what I heard and took notes on this morning. But now, while we're at the movies, and I don't know if this is true in all movie theaters, I don't know really the circumstances. I've got to get some more info on this. But the commentators that were given this story, they were saying that the movies that we're watching are capable now of watching us. What? Yeah. They've got a new kind of a computerized program, and again, I'm going to be talking in short terms here because I'm not sure about how this mechanics are all set up or whatever. But there's a new program to watch your face or the audience faces and record you and me in a movie theater And they're going to use our faces and our expressions to basically take your face in consideration for future plots in various parts of the movie. Now, in other words, like if there's a real funny scene and you're kind of sitting there poker-faced and didn't find it funny, they're going to be able to record that. Or if there's a real sober scene, very grief-stricken scene, and you're crying and they're going, bingo, we got him. But you know, what bothers me about this is, again, the big brother attitude of somebody somewhere is watching us and recording us all the time. Does this bother you or not? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to kind of give you a little rundown as to what we're going to have for the rest of the program this morning. At 9:06, we're going to be talking to our dear friend, and he is Representative Fred Wood. We're going to be talking about what's going on with health care. They cannot seem to get on the same page. They cannot seem to pull everybody together, and I've had enough of this, and I think we're going to have a really good discussion with Fred about the Affordable Care Act. Then at 9:30 this morning, we're going to have a lady on the program by the name of Charmy Lavelle from Gooding, and she is the Secretary Manager of the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. And then at 10:06, we've got Dr. History coming on the program. And then at 10:32, boy, I don't want you to miss this, and if you have calls or questions, be sure and call in. Christine Douglas Williams has written a book called The Challenge of Modernizing Islam. And I think you're going to find this one real thought-provoking as to how Islam is trying to change their modus operandi. They're trying to change their personality. They're trying to cover up or gloss over parts of the Quran. We'll talk to her about that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again.
Yes, sir.
You know, the one thing that I don't like is Google. And you being in the real estate business, it's actually a tool for you because if you have the address and everything, you can look up that property and show the people from the aerial view, right?
Yes.
And so they know all about your business also. Who gives them permission to spy on you? And that's what it is. You're spying.
Well, it is.
You in your profession.
You're going to find out that I'm against it. I have always been against that.
Okay.
I'm one of the rarities that does not want to conform with the modernization of basically creeping into everyone's lifestyle. But you, being a former member of the car sales industry, you know doggone well that automobiles are more tattletales than anything else.
Oh, yes. Yes, they are.
Now that they can plug in a little deal into the cigarette lighter and they can find out everything about you, how you drive, what you don't do, what you do. And I think that, again, is very intrusive.
Yeah. It's just like that truck deal I mentioned earlier. I mean, they know everything you do. They know the exact amount of fuel you're using and just how long you stopped at this one place.
That's right. That's right.
Are you changing of the gears? Are you doing it properly? Everything is recorded, and most companies grade your pay scale on that.
Yes.
If you're perfect, you get a bonus.
I do not want anybody, you included, Nancy, anybody, to know what I do 24/7. That's none of your business. It's not some little herky-jerky that sits behind a desk wearing 26-inch rim glasses, knowing everything about my life, everything that I do all the time. And that's what they're leading us into, Keith, and I'm going to lead the revolt against them. I think it's sick.
Say someone has a lawsuit against you, and they want to find out what you have. With this Google, they can do that. They know how many horses you have.
Oh, yeah.
They know how many outbuildings you have. They know everything about your activities outside.
Well, I got to say this, and I got to be really careful in some of the verbiage here because, number one, it wasn't that many months ago that we had a drone flying over our house, and very, very low. As a matter of fact, at one juncture, the drone was less than 3 feet over my head. And then it zipped away from me, and it went over by where my wife was and did the same thing to her. Now, my question to you is this. They've come out and they said, oh, no, drones are protected. Why, you can't do anything. You can't shoot them down. You can't swat at them. You can't damage them. They are in free airspace. And my response is, when you scare my wife or I on my property, I don't respect one doggone thing about airspace, and if I have a shotgun, I will shoot you down. If I have a broom, I will knock you down. I absolutely think that's an imposition into our freedom of living on our own property.
Well, this United States of America have had these for years, and what they were mostly used for was spying. They had cameras in them, they could take the pictures, and they know if they really want to investigate you, it would be very expensive, but they'll find a lot about you in a hurry.
Yeah, but
with those drones.
The intrusiveness of standing there, and I was watering my stock, and all of a sudden I look above my head, and about 3 feet above my head I hear this whine, and there's this drone. You aren't going to tell me that I have to protect that species when he's invading and scaring us as a family. Then he goes over and does it to my wife with the drone. I have no reason not to want to smash that thing to smithereens.
How many of the farmers out there in your area have a drone or have access to them or subscribe to them?
Many, and they're using them for the purposes that they were meant for, and they're not bothering other people. My point is that drones are very intrusive. Drones have been used over in the Middle East to kill and maim and bomb. Drones are very, very intrusive into the security and our lifestyles, and when used for the wrong purposes, I say shoot them down.
I'm with you, brother.
All right, thanks, Keith. God bless you. Thanks. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. That really, I got to tell you, it really bothered us until we found out the circumstances, and I'm not going to get into the circumstances, but it was, in this case, a joke. But really, long-term effect, not funny. Because the intrusiveness of standing there and all of a sudden looking over your head, less than the distance of what it is now from here to my light fixture in the ceiling, and having that drone just hovering over your head, it really gives you kind of a chilly feeling. Don't forget, get where you're going this summer with the best of tires for your pickup and SUV, your automobiles, horse trailers, boat trailers, everything from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And, of course, they do have all the tires, all the sizes, all the different tread designs. Absolutely. And I want to urge you to stop in before you take that trip, before you go down to Colorado, before you drive over to South Dakota, wherever you're going, make sure you've got the tires that are going to get you there and back safely. Mm-hmm. And also the best in brake service with highly trained technicians. And, of course, the best of front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, and, of course, the best in service. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, of course, Mike and Jerome, Twist Family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, absolutely the best. I know I'll take some heat for that statement about get them down, knock them down, shoot them down, whatever, but I never will forget that feeling, standing there and looking up, and there is this drone, like I said, about 3 feet above my head. And then hearing my wife go, "Oh, it's over here," and it's right above her head, not knowing any of the circumstances. And then they say, "Oh, you can't touch them." Oh, no, they're a protected species, per se. I'm not so sure. All right, we're going to take a little break and come back in about 7 minutes with Representative Fred Wood and Charmy Laval and many others right here on Zeb at the Ranch for a Tuesday, already July 25th. My goodness, where is the summer going? About a month away from moms and dads waving at their kids as they climb on the school bus. Holy buckets. Right now, old buddy Wheel is going to play some music. We'll be back in 7 minutes. You stay tuned. Oh, good morning to you. Kind of cloudy and overcast outside. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and also some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
That kind of sums it up. Always at your disposal, loyal to the community and the people that they serve. And I guarantee you, get on the route service, let them come pick up your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Wave goodbye. They are excellent on that route service. Give them a call, 734-6969. It is true. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Hey, by the way, don't forget on Mondays at 9:15, we have Vicky from Vicky's Country Garden on our program. Oh, my goodness, at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-5663. And 25% off now on all the perennials. And they've got all the decorative bark and the rock and the decor items for the outside of your home. Everything, including all the chemicals to get rid of the weeds and the slugs and the bugs and everything else. At Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-5663. Also want to acknowledge our friends over at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn, right near Connection Credit Union. And they do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Dr. Bill and the rest of the crew, my goodness, it's a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. Yep. They love them all. Look out for all the ticks and the all the ticks and the fleas. There you go. It sounds better when you say it right. And if you got your dog going out with you hunting or fishing or whatever, look out. He's going to be loaded with ticks. You can also get the ticks from him. So be careful. Be prepared. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn, 678-1177. Whew. One more note before I get to Representative Fred Wood, why I'm busier than a one-armed paper hanger here this morning. Want to remind you about all the good things that are going on at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Holy buckets. This is going to be quite a deal starting July 31st through August 5th, and they're going to start off with the lawnmower races on the 31st. Wow. They have fun. I'm chuckling because, man, that's a lot of fun. And then they're going to have a gymkhana. And then on Wednesday, they're going to have that great big Lions barbecue at 5:30. All you can eat. Oh, it is good by the Lions Club. Thursday, junior rodeo. Friday and Saturday, open rodeo. My goodness, don't miss a minute of it. Fun at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. Country Pride countywide this year, July 31st through August 5th. Whew. Good morning, Representative Fred Wood. How are you?
Good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
I'm busy and concerned. And I'm concerned because right now as we speak, a lot of things going on in Washington, D.C. as part of the possible repeal of the Affordable Care Act. We've got a disunited party on the Republican side. We got the party of no on the Democratic side. Can you please bring us up to speed as to what's happening on health care?
Well, I can, first of all, I can try, but it's going to basically be what I can piece together from, one, as much of the national news as I can read from basically the economic news, et cetera, and the business news. You're not going to find out anything from the political news. So, as I see it, Republicans have never come together, Zeb, with respect to what to do about health care. The Democrats are fairly united if you talk to them. They believe that in an industrialized, developed country like the United States, health care is a right, like every other developed, industrialized country on the planet. The Republican Party doesn't believe that. If you really sit and talk to politicians in the state legislature, and I've listened to all of them, away from the public eye, etc., there's a bunch of them that simply don't believe that health care or government should have anything to do with helping people obtain health care. Health care to them is a privilege. It's not a right. And if you can't afford it and you get cancer or you're in a bad accident or whatever, then your duty is to go home and die, and don't come to the government for any help. There's a real divide in the Republican Party about what to do about health care. And I'm not being facetious and I'm not being hard. I'm just being flat honest. There's a significant number of people, particularly on the hard right, that just don't believe there's any place for government, period. Secondly, if you look at the national election, although the Republicans do control all three branches not all three branches, but both the House and the Senate and the White House, you got to remember they lost 2 U.S. Senate seats. They lost 6 House seats. They lost the election with respect to the popular vote. So they really don't have a mandate because the country is pretty evenly divided. And when you've got an evenly divided country, you're not going to accomplish a lot by blunt force. You're going to have to sit down and figure out how you're going to govern with a very slim majority. And so far, they've not been willing to do that. So it's not surprising to me that they haven't gotten much across the finish line. I don't know what they're going to be able to accomplish. Congress is an entity that I don't understand. In the Idaho State Legislature, we have a well-honed process and procedures that have been proven over 120 years. We balance our budget. We pay our bills. We don't ever set about and pass programs into law that we don't have the money to fund. Congress does that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I mean, it seems like there's almost no rules back there.
Yeah.
They get to do whatever rule they want to dream up to. I mean, we watch the Democrats do that, okay, to pass Obamacare. And what are the Republicans doing? I mean, they sit around and criticize the Democrats for making up the rules and doing this and doing that and passing half of it with budget reconciliation and all of that, and scream to high hell when the Democrats did it. And what are the Republicans doing now?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, it's sickening to call myself a Republican sometimes. We know better than to do that. And they're back there doing it.
Let me ask you.
I mean, I am so frustrated. It's difficult to criticize a lot of my friends. But, Zeb, I'm here to tell you, it is so disappointing.
Yeah. You know, let me ask you a short question here. Caller, I'll get with you in just a second. Stand by, caller. But let me ask you this, Fred. Is it really a harsh, cruel society that forces people to have their own incentive and personal responsibility to take care of items that each and every family should have? Is it really a cruel society that forces people to have that responsibility?
If you limit it to, if you break out the people who can't, okay, and I'm talking about the physically disabled and the mentally disabled,
right,
et cetera.
Right.
Because those people don't have the capacity to do that. If you break those people out, then no, it's not a harsh, cruel society to make sure that there's an adequate amount of self-responsibility to all of those that have the physical capability and the mental capability to do the best they can for themselves.
Absolutely.
That's been the American way since the inception of the country, and we ought to continue that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Caller, go ahead with your comments to Representative Fred Wood.
I just wonder if you thought, I never hear him talk much about infiltration into the parties, because it almost seems like the Democrats are running the Republican parties. I wonder how much infiltration there is of people that Democrats have put into the Republican Party to stymie the work being done by them and vice versa. Is that something that's going on in politics, do you think?
Fred, would you go ahead and answer that, please?
You know, that's hard to ascertain, and I'll tell you why. Basically, who knows what... You know, I've been a Republican all of my life. I mean, ever since I ever could remember political parties or anything else, my entire family has been Republican. But if you look at how the Democrat Party has evolved over the last 50 years or so, versus and how the Republican Party has evolved over the last 50 years, you wouldn't know the two parties by looking at a definition of them 50 years ago versus a definition of them today, or what they stand for, or their party planks. Remember, 50 years ago, the Democrat Party was the conservative party. They were the ones who were still literally trying to enforce segregation, et cetera, in the South. Republican Party was the party who freed the slaves and gave women the right to vote, et cetera. That has completely switched, and in that you have splinter parties, not so much splinter parties, but for instance, the other two organized parties that are recognized in the state of Idaho, which are the Constitutional Party and the Libertarian Party. Neither of those ever get to vote or can ever accomplish being elected to public office, and so they've all assumed the mantle of Republican. Well, a true libertarian is not a Republican. A true constitutionalist is not a Republican. A true conservative Democrat is not a Republican, but all of them literally have gravitated to the Republican Party,
right,
because it's the only way they can win an election.
Right.
But once they win an election, then they go back to their base roots. And some of those parties, in my opinion, aren't interested in governing. They're just interested in being there for themselves. So it's difficult to say, and every state is different. But that's one of the real problems we have today, too, is trying to sort out what people's true feelings really are.
I agree. Fred, there was a letter recent.
That was one of the most eloquent, if I might say, I'm sorry, that was one of the most best answers that I've heard in a long time. I really appreciate your service. I know that you have been and are a great representative of your views and your thoughts in the public, and I think it does a great thing for us. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you. Fred, there is a concept out there about single-payer insurance, and Wheels, watch the feedback over there at the station. And there was a letter in the paper here recently that really scared me because of some of the concepts that were promoted in this letter. Please allow me 30 seconds to read some of this letter to you, because there's key words in here I want you to elaborate on. This person...
What was that type of insurance again?
There's a big move for single-payer insurance in this country, and some of the perpetration of this thought.
Okay.
All right. This letter goes on in the Times News a couple of weeks ago and says, I propose we will eventually have to develop a system based upon the single-payer system. Let me define what single-payer is. Single-payer health insurance care means that all medical bills are paid out of a government-run pool of money. The insurance companies do not exist, creating a big drop in health care expenses as the middleman is deposed of in our healthcare system. And then he goes on to say, under this system, all providers are paid at the same rate and citizens receive the same health benefits regardless of their ability to pay. This person goes on and on extolling the virtues of single payer, and at the bottom of the letter, Fred, he says, we need a non-profit system that is fair to all our citizens, but which will give fair profits to doctors, hospitals, etc. You know as well as I do, if we go to single-payer insurance, I guarantee you that we're going to see a total demise of our healthcare system, and people will be standing in line just to get a hangnail looked at.
And you want my comments?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, first of all, that is what the rest of the world has. Okay? And they have, a lot of them have better outcomes with respect to how long their citizens live, et cetera. I'm not an advocate of that, and there's several reasons why I'm not, and it would take a whole lot longer than this program to do that. First of all, you got to remember that we do have a single-payer system in the United States, and that single-payer system is called Medicare.
Right.
Okay? So everybody in the United States obviously has a relative or multiple family members that are currently on Medicare. You go judge for yourself whether that's the system that you want the entire United States on. And you can make up your own mind about whether or not that's the system that you want. But that is a single-payer system for people over 65 years of age in the United States. Here is a real problem with the single-payer system. True, our health care is more expensive than it should be. But we can accomplish getting it down to a normal rate of cost without going to a single-payer system. We now have 18% of GDP going to health care. Most industrialized countries have about 10. If you immediately went to a single-payer system by tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock, 8% of the U.S. economy would go away. That would immediately destroy the American economy. You can't do that overnight. Whatever reforms we bring to the system, we literally need to bring over a period of 5 to 10 years. The first thing we need to get after is the pharmaceutical industry.
Mm-hmm.
The profits are immense. They're obscene. It's embarrassing. And Congress is responsible for every bit of that. Most of the federal laws that are protecting the pharmaceutical industry need to go away. Secondly, most of the laws protecting a lot of health care need to go away. We don't have a competitive system in health care whatsoever. It is highly regulated, and it's highly regulated to make sure that the revenues stay there for certain segments of the industry. All of that needs to go away, Zeb.
Okay.
We can get to a reasonable system of affordable health care, literally in the United States, without going to a single-payer system.
Absolutely.
And I think we would be better off.
Absolutely.
We're the world's best at rescue care. When anybody wants specialized care around the planet, you know where they come? They come to the United States, because we do have the best outcomes by far with rescue care, etc. Where we really fall down is prevention and primary care. It's simply because we've never valued that and we've never paid for that. And we simply have to rearrange where our payments go for health care. You've got to do that over a 5 or 10 year period of time, and it's going to take great political will to do that. And unfortunately, if you're going to ask Congress to do stuff like that, the states are going to have to do it themselves because Congress won't go there.
Well, Fred, there's one other point I want to mention to you, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, but when you start legislating and regulating about what they say in this letter, which will give fair profits to doctors and hospitals, when you start regulating how much they're going to earn and you take away the incentive for research and monies for research and young doctors to enhance their careers and go back for further studies for cancer, etc., you're cutting your own throat, because I would say that when you start regulating these people, they're not going to get in the business at all. Am I wrong?
No, you're exactly right. Let me tell you something, Zeb. Since I've been chairman of the Health and Welfare Committee for the last 5 years, I don't know what percent of legislation is brought to me, typically by lobbyists on behalf of various segments of the healthcare industry. And invariably, every single one of those pieces of legislation, Zeb, are there to protect that segment of the industry, to make sure that their revenues never go down. I have a desk drawer every session absolutely full of bills that I hold, and I won't allow a hearing on it. And I've had my rear end chewed and hide taken off my back for it. But I can prove to you that every single one of those bills that I hold in that category is nothing but a regulatory effort on that segment of the healthcare industry to make damn sure their revenue stream doesn't go down, and in fact try to enhance their revenue stream. And it's pathetic. I mean, I see it all of the time. And that's what's wrong with the American healthcare system. We could get to where we need to be and have an affordable system. But I don't see political will. I don't even see a lot of political will in Idaho to do what really needs to be done.
Right. Real short answer on this, Fred. I'm almost out of time. Your prediction, if you will, looking at the status of what's going on in D.C. right now, with this Senate vote on the health care bill, will they, won't they, can it be reconstructed before the end of the year? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't think, well, first of all, they can't unwind the Affordable Care Act overnight, because they will destroy. They will literally put the insurance segment out of business, and then that's going to affect everybody's health care. They can't do that. I think what's going to happen is I don't think you're going to see much movement this year. They're going to do just enough to try to placate the radio talk show hosts, et cetera, that they're doing something. But they're going to try and figure out, I think, over the next year, sometime by next summer, how you unwind this and do away with the bad portions of the Affordable Care Act. And there are some that are bad, but there are some that are good that they need to keep. And there's a whole bunch they have to have 60 votes to change.
Representative Fred Wood, and he's always been a dear friend and very helpful to this program. God bless you, sir. I'm flat out of time, but please come back in the near future, and we'll have more. Fred, thank you so much.
Thanks, Zeb, and God bless.
Thank you very much. I've always enjoyed having him on the air because he's a straight shooter. He is a straight shooter, tells it like it is. Representative Fred Wood. Oh, my goodness sakes, we got a lot of things to tell you quickly before our next guest, and we want to remind you about Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. You know, they really care, and they are working under flexible hours to where they are there when you need them, not just 9 to 5, and they always treat you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one and you're just kind of all in turmoil, you don't know what needs to be done, just settle down, call the number. They can and they will help. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, serving you and your family. Oh, my goodness sakes, in just a moment, we're going to have our next guest on the program, one of our great local folks over in Gooding, and that's Charmy Laval talking about the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. All kinds of things going on there this year. Let's not forget Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And like I've said, they've got all the watercraft, for fun on the lakes and the streams and the rivers and everything. Oh, stay cool with all these 90-degree days. And, of course, they've got all the four-wheelers, and they've got, of course, the side-by-sides. Everything on that showroom floor at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and a super service department and all the accessories. All of this and more, where the fun is sold. Let's Ride. While you're over in that neck of the woods, too, don't forget our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Boy, they are the professionals in the insurance industry. And I urge you to get a hold of them today and talk to them about your coverage on life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and, of course, employee benefits. For you, your family, and your business, they know. They're dedicated and responsive to your needs. So please call the number. Make the appointment today. That's, of course, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, 436-4424. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line and jump across the river and visit with a very nice lady. Her and her husband have been absolutely instrumental in keeping the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame to the forefront and growing every year. We're going to have the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame July 28th and 29th at the Canyon Crest Event Center. And here with us now is the Secretary Manager of the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame, Charmy Laval. Good morning. How are you?
Well, good morning. I'm excited. We're almost at our induction time.
It is close. It's going to be this Friday and Saturday night. Now, let's break this down a little bit, Charmy, and I'll let you carry the ball and tell us all about an event on Friday night that's called Give Cancer the Boot, Tough Enough to Wear Pink, and tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, this is going to be a really fun event. This is the first time that we have had a pink event. We've got lots of things planned. We have Coors is sponsoring us, and we're giving away free beers. With the purchase of a ticket, they get a glass that's engraved by Coors. We're going to have wonderful auction items to help with cancer. We're going to have appetizers. We're going to have entertainment. We're just going to have a lot of great things going on, and we're just excited to do this. So we're going to have a Boots and Spurs. It's also our annual reunion, so we've got a lot of alumni that are coming. We're going to have a Boots and Spurs contest, so they're going to be wearing their special spurs, and we'll see who gets that. So anyway, we hope everybody comes on down and gives Cancer the boot and reunites with all their friends and visits and have a good old time.
You did a great job explaining that. Friday night, we're going to start that at 5 o'clock, and it goes till about 8 p.m., and a percentage of the proceeds goes to breast cancer awareness with the St. Luke's Foundation. These have been really nice people to work with.
Yes, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So we're going to have a booth there that people can put their donations in, and like I say, we're going to have that live auction going on, and then following the next day, after we have the reunion and the Give Cancer the Boot, we're going to have our inductions Saturday night, which will be absolutely wonderful. We have 15 absolutely fabulous inductees this year. Ranging from judges to contractors to ropers and wrestlers and people with charitable contributions that are known for their charitable and humanity contributions, and they're Western art, Western music, authors, preservation of Western history, and so we have lots of things that we do. And it's not just about rodeo. It's about preserving our Western heritage and understanding our Western way of life and preserving that as well. And we have some great people that are doing that, Bev and Gary Stone and Johnny Uratia. And, well, you know, Dean Oliver's going to be there. We're inducting Dean Oliver. And, of course, we've got Bingo, and who is an animal. So we also induct those who, the contractors for the Spur Rowell Rodeo, Jake and his wife, Catherine Pope. We've got Harry Hamilton and Harry Charters posthumously, and did I say Larry and Kay Davis, and Larry and Kay, Larry Smith and his wife, and Lisa Davis and Sue Ellen Smith, and so we've got a great bunch of inductees this year, and we hope everybody will come down and join us and listen to their biographies and what they've accomplished. And these people are just
For some reason,
That starts, too, by the way. That starts at 5 o'clock with a social and meet and greet. And we have a tri-tip dinner, and that's sponsored by, this event is sponsored by Coors and D.L. Evans and Canyon Crest Event Center. So we've got the tri-tip dinner buffet, and it's just going to be fabulous.
Well, I want to emphasize a lot on our sponsors. D.L. Evans Banks for the entire state of Idaho jumped in and was our major sponsor for our event this year on the 28th and 29th this Friday, along with, of course, the great support from Tech Distributors, Coors, Tony and the crew, and then, of course, Katie over at the Canyon Crest Event Center. I want to back up just a little bit and go back to Friday night for the Tough Enough to Wear Pink, where the $10 entry fee, and like Sharmi said, it's going to be a fun night. We've got a lot of door prizes. You'll get a ticket, and we're going to draw a lot of door prizes during the course of the evening, and we've got some rather fun and unique games we're going to have that first night on Friday night. And then on Saturday night, like you said, the Hall of Fame induction. You know, Sharmi, a lot of people don't realize the amount of work and time that you and your husband Lonnie have spent in creating and maintaining this Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, it started out years ago in about 2000, and then after the organizer there in Gooding passed away, it was kind of in limbo a little bit. They still held some inductions, but the numbers were going down, and we realized it wasn't organized. So Lonnie and I formed the 501c3 charitable nonprofit, and we called it the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. At that time, Cowboy Hall of Fame wasn't available, so which encompasses so much more that we're about. But anyway, so we're named the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame, and we encompass a whole lot. Like I said, we focus on our Western heritage and preservation of our Western heritage. So with that being said, we've now been the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame for 3 years, and we have grown steadily, and we're very proud of what has happened, and we can't take all of the credit for that, Deb. We've got a wonderful board of which you're vice president of, and you've been very instrumental in organizing, you and your wife, this year's event that we couldn't have frankly done without you. And we've got Charlie Howell on the board as the director, and we've got Bob Humphrey and Carrie Ricketts and Pam Donaldson up in northern Idaho, and we just have an absolutely wonderful board, and we work together as a team, and that's what makes things work so well, is because we do work together as a team.
Absolutely. You know, one thing you mentioned earlier, and I want to elaborate on it a little bit if I can. A lot of people think, well, the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame, just rodeo cowboys and or rodeo cowgirls. Well, you know, there's a lot of people that are support groups and support personnel to the rodeo business. And like singer-songwriter and former bull rider Johnny Uratia, and also artists like Gary and Bev Stone. And every other Hall of Fame that I can think of, whether it's the NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame, Major League Baseball Hall of Fame, etc., they honor other people that are involved in baseball or football and not necessarily putting on a uniform. And I think that's what we stress with this Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame.
Well, that's absolutely right. And by way of example, too, is Governor Otter, who is also an inductee. You know, he has advocated for the ranch life and our ranchers and cowboys that are living the Western way of life. And you know, there's much more to this kind of thing than just rodeo.
Right. You know, and I want to stress the fact that it's a Canyon Crest Event Center this weekend, and I urge you to write this number down, 733-9392. I'll say that number again, 733-9392. And boy, has Katie ever been great to work with at the Canyon Crest Event Center. It's all set up and going to be great, right, Charmy?
Oh, she has. She's been... That lady is just phenomenal. Anything that she can do for us, she's done. Anything that we haven't asked her for, she knows in front what we need. And I'm telling you, it is just so nice to have our event held there where it's cool, you can hear, it's classy, the food is fabulous. And working with Katie, she's just outstanding.
Absolutely.
I can't say anything more about how wonderful she's been to work with.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I tell you, folks, this is a 2-night deal. Friday night, of course, the Tough Enough to Wear Pink with the Give Cancer the Boot. And like I said earlier, a percentage of the proceeds go to the breast cancer awareness with St. Luke's Foundation. $10 entry fee. Now, this is going to be a lot of fun. And people need to get down there from 5 to 8 p.m. and just be a part of a fun night. Right, Charmy?
Oh, they do. And they're in for a treat, I'll tell you. They are truly in for a treat. It is going to be huge fun. They're going to walk away from there just laughing, and they're going to be so glad that they came.
Absolutely. And then the next night on Saturday night, the Hall of Fame induction, 5 p.m. social hour, dinner at 6, and then we're going to, of course, start right into the induction ceremony of our rodeo legends. And again, a big thank you to Josh and everybody, Jim Evans at DL Evans Banks across the state, and Tony and the crew at Tech Distributing. I mean, Sharmy, we've been blessed with a lot of people that really are trying to help us.
We have, Deb. We certainly have.
Well, thank you.
We just can't thank them enough. We really cannot thank them enough. They're going to make this a fine, fine event.
All right.
We just appreciate them immensely.
All right. Well, Sharmy, I know you're busy because every day you put so much time into this. God bless you for being on the program this morning, and we'll see you at the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame at the Canyon Crest Event Center this Friday and Saturday night. Thank you so much.
Well, God bless you, and thank you for having me.
All right.
Have
Nice.
a great day.
Nice lady right there, and they've done so much to help with the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. Thank you. Going to be a fun time. Real fun time. Oh, we better get a weather forecast on here right now. And then I can't wait to take some of your calls at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to ask this question, and we'll do it right after the weather forecast. Do you feel, honestly, and I will take a little survey on this morning before the hour's up. Do you feel that health care is a right or your personal responsibility? Answer that. Is it a right that should be provided and given to you, or should it be your personal responsibility? I'd like to hear how you answer that. Weather forecast this hour brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Absolutely the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, and so much more. They've got 2 locations, Burley and Rupert, serving you, and serving you, they really are the key words. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. You get a hold of them today. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Well, it looks like we could get somewhat of a little bit of a reprieve here with the weather. Good morning with your Zip of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. 20% chance of isolated thunderstorms today, a high near 85. Then for tonight, 20 to 30% chance of showers. Expecting the low just about 61. Then for tomorrow, chance of showers going to be increasing to about 40%. Highs of 85. Slight chance of thunderstorms for Wednesday night. Lows around 60. Going to be clearing off towards the end of the weekend. Going to see highs getting up about to 90 into the mid-90s there as we go into the weekend. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron.
Thank you, Scotty, and brought to you this hour by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. And they're really specialize in helping folks in agriculture, manufacturing, food production services, etc. They know and they can help you. They can help us all with our tax return preparation, etc. All you need to do is give them a call. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company in Burley and Rupert. Thank you. I'll ask the question again, and I'd really like to hear your response on this. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Do you feel that health care in this country should be a right, or do you feel that it should be your responsibility? Now, I know, and I agree with Fred Wood 1,000%, that there are allowances for those that can't work, disabled, physically challenged. I know that. I realize that. And there has to be some opportunities to be provided in those regards. But, in general, do you feel that health care in the United States should be a right? Oh, yeah, give me it. It's my right. Or your personal responsibility and incentive to take care of your family? Come on, give me a call. I want to hear some answers on this really, really fast. I'll do a commercial while I'm waiting for your call. Don't forget Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call and find out more, 436-3200. They are the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cash area. And believe me, they make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. And they urge you, the public, to stop by their facility anytime for tours and check them out. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert, 436-3200. All right, come on, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, is it a right or a privilege? What are your thoughts?
I feel it's a privilege. I don't feel that the government can afford to make it a right. It's ridiculous to start with. If they ever did, it would be totally controlled, and it would probably be the worst system that could have ever been devised.
Jerry, that was very well stated, and I appreciate your calling in kind of a quick vote on this. I totally agree with you, but we'll see what some others have got to say on this. Jerry, thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great day.
All right. Is it a right or a privilege? Should it just be provided to you, or should you, as the leader of the pack, your family, have the incentive and the personal responsibility to make sure that you and your family are covered? I'd like to see. So far, we got one that says it is a privilege and your personal responsibility and incentive to take care of your family. What are your thoughts? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call quickly. Time is of essence, so get on the line and give me a jingle. While I'm waiting for your call that I just know is coming in, I can feel it barreling down the wire right now. I want to remind you about what's going on right now up at the Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo. This is a country County Fair. This is the way it should be up in Shoshone. And, of course, their great big motto for this year, from pioneer days to modern ways. Really, really nice people. Now, tomorrow, Wednesday night at 7 p.m., they're going to have that great big ranch rodeo. And then on Thursday and Friday, the IMPRA rodeo. And then Saturday, don't miss the great big truck and tractor pulling. Oh, boy, I understand that turns into a lot of fun. All of this and more up in Shoshone at the best country county fair anywhere, Lincoln County Fair and Rodeo in Shoshone. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. What do you think?
Yeah, if it wasn't for the way our system works, nobody'd be able to afford health care. So everybody's got to assume the responsibility of taking out insurance and paying for it. And somebody down the road gets into an accident or a situation where they have high medical bills. If they weren't part of an insurance group, they'd have to go off and die. The only ones that would have medical care are people like Schumer and Pelosi and some of the others.
So what are you saying, Tony? Are you saying that it should be a right for all of us to have it provided for us, or it's a privilege that we need to have the personal responsibility to make sure that we're covered on our own?
Well, everybody has to be responsible for the health care, but the way things are going today, we've got more people that are depending on a few taxpayers to pick up the tab for everything.
Right. So I think the way I'm interpreting what you're saying is you believe it's a privilege and it is your responsibility to own it, not have it provided as a right. Is that right?
Oh, that's absolutely right.
Okay.
I mean, Mary and I have been that way all our lives. We've taken care of ourselves. My family grew up that way. We never asked anybody. During the Depression years when we were growing up, we didn't ask anybody for help. We toughed it out. And
some of the thought pattern that goes into people saying that the government should do this and the government should do that, and it absolutely kills any source of competition for companies to try to change and lower certain rates on certain parts of their program. I want the government to get the heck out of Dodge City and leave this alone.
People aren't going to forget the damage that the Democratic Party and Barack Obama has done to this country. That's why we all voted for Donald Trump.
My friend Tony, I appreciate your call this morning. Let's see if we've got some more people calling in. Privilege is how you vote, and personal responsibility. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, sir. What are your thoughts? Should it be a right? Oh, yeah, the minute you're born, you're going to get everything covered as a right? Or do you think it's your own personal responsibility with the incentive that you provide to go out and do your hard work and raise your family, pay your own bills? What are your thoughts about that? And don't give me this garbage about, things have changed today. No, they haven't. We've just lost our personal responsibility. Give me a call quickly, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Where in the Constitution or the Bill of Rights does it say that the government is going to give us health insurance? It does not. It is a privilege.
You are 1,000% right. What would you say if you were standing up in front of a group this morning and they were all liberals and they were all demanding that the government and i.e. the rest of the American public pay for their health insurance? What would you tell them?
We've provided for our own, our parents, our grandparents did. Just use a little bit of common sense instead of spending for all your electronics or whatever. Provide for your family. In 1 Timothy, I believe it says, the man that does not provide for his family is worse than an infidel.
There you go. I do appreciate your call. God bless you and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calls, welcome. I still got time for a couple of calls. Quickly, give me your feeling on health insurance. I know it was a short survey here this morning, but I'd like to know whether you think it's a personal responsibility or a right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. We've always had
to provide our own insurance. When they decided that everybody had to pay for prescription insurance and they had to have it or get a penalty, I was very, very angry because I was not taking anything. But nobody did anything about it, and so they got by with that, and so they got by with all this other stuff with the Affordable Care Act.
Right, right. What are your thoughts when you watch the news and hear the liberals and the Democrats say, oh, well, it's a right? That lady that called in just a moment ago said, absolutely, it's not in the Constitution. It's not anywhere to be found that it is a right that the government be the provider and the end-all and cure-all for everyone's family. I think, and I want your response on this real quick, that we've got away from personal responsibility and the incentive to take care of ourselves, and too many people are ready to say, government, come help me.
Exactly, and I totally agree with everything that former one said.
Well, thank you.
Because it's our responsibility, and we should do that. But they've just, unfortunately, made it so darn expensive.
Absolutely.
For everybody that it's just a difficult thing, but it's still our responsibility.
I thank you for your call this morning. God bless you and have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Thank you. Nice lady right there. All the calls, I thank you very much. It looks like everybody feels like I do that's called in so far about personal responsibility and your own incentive to provide for your coverage and your family. Coming up next hour, in the first half hour, is my old itty-bitty buddy, and that's Dr. History, and he's going to be in the studio telling us about some of the interesting occurrences in the history pages of the past, and that'll be coming up. And then at 10:30, Christine Douglas Williams talking about the challenge of modernizing Islam. Ooh, should be interesting. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch, and right now, Wheels, take us up to CBS News, old buddy. Oh, let's rock and roll to hour number 3 without any further ado. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Want to remind you on Thursdays we have a segment called Cassia County School Days. Big thank you goes out to our 2 sponsors, Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, they've got all the new toys and the games and all the baby furniture and the clothing. Oh, my goodness. They've got, right now, all the new fall clothes. Can you believe that, Dr. History? Fall clothing already at a Child's World, 1308 Overland and Burley, and along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, 677-8888 for your outpatient special surgeries and outpatient care. Please call them today about colonoscopies and carpal tunnel surgery, so much more. They can save you money. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Right now, chomping on the bit and ready to run like Secretariat, here's Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
Good, my friend.
Good. A little rainy out there. It's going to slow down the grain harvest a little.
Raining?
Yeah, just a little. Not bad.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
outside.
Just a little. Probably slow down the grain harvest
we had
a little.
Big fire right here on the foothills this morning.
Yeah. Yep. So you have been wanting me to talk about something local. So today we're going to talk about Chief Pocatello. Now, for our listeners, Zeb and I are pretty much right smack dab in the middle of south central Idaho.
Right.
It's where we live.
In the center.
In the center. And so the area we're going to be talking about is a little to the east of us. There's a town in Idaho called Pocatello.
Yep.
And that's going to be what we're going to be talking about.
Okay. Named after the illustrious chief.
Chief Pocatello.
What tribe?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Well, you went right into my next thought. Now, he was a Shoshone, but here's the thing, Zeb. There were the Western Shoshone, the Bruno Shoshone, the Boise Shoshone, Lemhi, Fort Hall Shoshone, Northwestern Shoshone, and Eastern. All of these were Shoshone tribes, but in their areas.
When they sent out a smoke signal, did they get a wrong answer?
Well, if your last name was Shoshone, you might. I don't know. But, to get started here, we're going to start with Chief Pocatello's mother.
Oh,
all right?
okay.
There's a whole story about her.
All right.
So we're going to begin with his mother. Now, she was a member of the small Grouse Creek Band of Northwestern Shoshone. So Grouse Creek, homeland near the City of Rocks. So again, kind of east and south of us where we're at right now.
Right.
And of course, City of Rocks was kind of that's where the California Trail went through.
Right.
And kind of a scary place for the travelers. And it's kind of on the Utah-Idaho border. But the story of her capture and escape involving a Plains Indian war party has kind of become a legend of the Fort Hall Indian Reservation. So here we go. A raiding party of 7 Assiniboine warriors on foot attacked a small group of the northwestern Shoshone on the Raft River, among whom was Pocatello's mother. Now her name, I'm going to hopefully pronounce this right, is Witsabu, I believe.
Okay.
And that stands for cunning eye. Okay? Witsabu. In the spring of the year, sometime in the early 19th century, Witsabu and her 2-year-old daughter with her, and she was expecting. She was pregnant. Now, this was she was going to have this baby in the fall, so a few months out. Well, these Assiniboine warriors awarded Witsabu to one of the young warriors as a wife, and they headed back to on their journey, and they finally reached a larger Assiniboine camp where they displayed the scalps taken in the raid, including that of the brother of Witsabu, and she was forced to watch a scalp dance in honor of the victorious warriors. Now, to ensure that his new Shoshone wife would not escape, each night during the travel to the plains of Montana, the husband tied her to him with a buckskin rope attached to his legs so she couldn't sneak away.
Now, this was her husband or her assumed husband?
Assumed husband, the one she was given to as a reward.
And she is with child at this time.
And has a 2-year-old. Okay.
Oh, my.
Now, when the party reached their home country, this is clear up in northeastern Montana, and that's a long ways.
Yes, it is.
Witsabu discovered that her new husband, had another wife. She soon learned from another Shoshone woman that her husband's first wife was jealous and intended to kill her. So Witsabu, therefore, began planning an escape, and each day as she went out from the camp with the first wife's daughter to gather firewood, while the child was searching for sticks, Witsabu began kind of digging out a hole underneath a riverbank, and it could only be reached by swimming underwater. And little by little, she provisioned this kind of hole or little tiny cave with dried meat. Okay, so on a day when her husband was away hunting, Witsabu went out from camp for the usual supply of wood, accompanied by this little girl. And Witsabu hit the little girl on the head to knock her down so she couldn't be followed. And she hid for 3 days while search parties were all around her. She finally left her hiding place the third evening, and traveling only at night, she headed for the Raft River. Now keep in mind, they're up in northeastern Montana.
Yeah.
And she's headed back here.
Back down here.
Yeah.
And she, pardon me for asking, but what about the 2-year-old?
Sad thing there. Indians had killed her 2-year-old.
Really?
Yeah.
But she still is with child?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, by now she was traveling only at night. She headed for the Raft River. Her food soon gave out. She was tired. She was weak. And again, she was pregnant.
Oh, my goodness.
Just rough. But she came upon the burial site of an Assiniboine warrior. Now, they buried them with the knife, bow and arrows, some dried meat, a piece of a buffalo robe. And so she took all this. She left with all this stuff that she'd taken from the gravesite. So anyway, basically she was saved by finding this, and now she was approaching the mountains, and she began traveling by day.
She's coming down through which area? Probably?
Well, by now she's probably down into the Wyoming area. I'm going to guess
over by Evanston, etc.
Yeah, and headed towards Raft River.
Okay,
so probably through Jackson Hole area.
And she's walking.
Yeah, she's walking. Smokes. Anyway, finally she reached the Raft River area, and Witsabu was taken in by an old couple who had stayed behind at the winter camp while the rest of the Northwestern Shoshone band had gone off on a hunting expedition. Well, they directed her to the main camp, where she was met with great joy by her mother, her father, and her husband. Now, sometimes if the wife is gone. The husband will remarry.
Yeah.
But he had not remarried, hoping that somehow she would still be alive.
Holy smokes.
So, Witzabu soon gave birth to a male child who came to be known as Pocatello.
Uh-huh.
Now, that may not be the truth.
Oh, really?
The
There
truth.
you had me just like a fish ready to bite the hook, and now what are you doing to me?
Okay, I'm pulling the hook back. The truth is a little less romantic, okay? What really occurred was the birth of a daughter, but Pocatello was not born until 3 or 4 years after his mother's kidnapping. Okay, so there's kind of a little gray area there.
So you're telling me whatever I heard in the last 9 minutes, disregard because it's all phony.
That's right.
Phony, fake news.
Okay, but keep this in mind. 600-mile journey across the plains of Montana.
That's true, though.
Over the Continental Divide.
Okay.
And did not keep her from her family and her homeland on Grouse Creek. And think of this, the courage, the fortitude, the determination that she displayed would doubtless be passed on to her son to be born in a few years.
Let me ask you this. If all of a sudden you, Dr. Ken Turner, Dr. History, were dumped over by Miles City, Montana, southeastern Montana, and told to come back home without any modern conveniences, no maps, nothing, no GPS, where do you think you'd end up there, Chief?
Probably in Chicago or Canada. I don't know. I watch some of these survival shows, and they're pretty amazing. But I'm thinking, I don't know if I could do that.
It's amazing.
It is. So now we're going to get to Chief Pocatello. Okay. All right. Now, Chief Pocatello was leader of the Lemhi Shoshone Indians that roamed Idaho's kind of the Salmon River Mountains and the surrounding areas. And they were part of a larger Shoshone nation, which some called the fiercest and the most bloodthirsty. And the Shoshone did indeed attack and kill white settlers and travelers, mostly along the Oregon Trail and the California Trail, which, as I mentioned, goes through the City of Rocks down that way. But the Indian tribes who lived traditionally on lands that were being invaded by the whites, of course, we've talked about this before, they resented the loss of their lands and their sources of food. I mean, the buffalo, the elk, the deer, but the Shoshones attacked a relatively small number of the immigrants for encroaching on their lands. But, retaliation was part of their life, Yep. But Pocatello's band was just one, as I mentioned, of the many Native American tribes that witnessed the competing cultures. Here you got these white people, these coming across with a whole different culture. So, anyway, to combat the violence in the Great Basin during the 1860s, the U.S. government sent Colonel Patrick Edward Connor, and you've heard his name, and his California volunteers to, quote, chastise the Indians.
Yeah, chastise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well,
Reprimand.
Yes. So, October 31st, 1860, Colonel Connor executed 14 or 15 Indians for attacking a wagon train.
Oh, man.
Additional Indians were taken hostage and killed when they refused to produce those that were involved in the attack. Connor was, I have mixed feelings about this guy, and you'll see why. But in 1863, Connor's, quote, chastised policy resulted in the worst massacre of Indians in American history at Bear River. And you've heard of that one.
Yes.
In the Cache Valley in southern Idaho.
Yeah.
That was a terrible...
And he's the one that led that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, Chief Pocatello and his band of some 150 warriors escaped Bear River, having left the day before, getting wind of Connor's assault. Now, although the Shoshones under Pocatello's lead did not terrorize settlers and immigrants a lot, Connor eventually caught the chief and said if found guilty at trial, he would hang him. Well, the Indians were upset and headed for the mountains to prepare for war, but the stagecoach station owner pleaded that charges be dropped and Pocatello be released. Because a lot of them knew that Pocatello was a pretty good guy, really.
Right.
Now, Commissioner of Indian Affairs, a guy by the name of William Dole, didn't know about the release and informed the Secretary of Interior, John Usher, of Connor's intentions. So this went up the line of authority quite a ways, and in fact reached President Lincoln's ear, and he immediately pardoned Chief Pocatello. So it went that far to release and pardon Pocatello.
Let me ask you a quick question here. And in those days, we're talking the 1860s.
Yeah.
We're talking about minuscule ways of communication.
Sure.
It must have taken a long time.
Right, and I can't imagine how quickly that or slowly that had to get back to President Lincoln.
Yeah.
So anyway, with a heavy heart, Pocatello agreed to move his people to Fort Hall Reservation, but then the 1.8 million acre reservation actually was pretty big, but it was already starting to be overcrowded. His band of 400 kind of added to the problem, so the chief moved them to a place called Bannock Creek, which is still over by the Pocatello area, and it was kind of away from some of the other Shoshone tribes or sub-tribes. Well, the government wanted these nomadic Indians to be farmers. You know, they tried that several times, like down in Arizona and Oklahoma. You just can't take an Indian that's been used to roaming and hunting, fishing, and make him a farmer.
Absolutely not.
So anyway, the reservation land was inadequate for that purpose, and so to avoid starvation, Chief Pocatello led a small band to a farm in Utah, and many of the settlers were not pleased with this and wanted the Indians removed. Ultimately, they got their way when the Army forced them back onto the reservation. But see, they thought that they could go to some of these settlers and get food. They were hungry.
Yeah, were there any altercations between the Indians and the settlers at that time?
Some.
Or did they primarily aim their ire at the government?
Mostly the government, because a lot of the settlers helped the Indians.
Yeah.
And the Indians knew this, but there were some renegade Indians that would still go out and kill some of the white settlers.
Yeah.
But more and more the Indians were depending on handouts. No longer could they survive on their own. And you've seen that in reservation after reservation. They get too much, and unfortunately they don't survive.
Right.
So, and the class of the cultures. So from 1868 to 1932, the Fort Hall reservation size was gradually reduced by 2/3 due to the white men, their encroachment on government lands. Now, yesterday I drove over to Pocatello for my granddaughter's birthday, and as you know, as you drive along the freeway, there's a sign that says "Entering Fort Hall Indian Reservation" and leaving. And so, for my listeners, I want you to understand that you may picture a reservation as being sagebrush and dirt and sand, and a lot of it is, but yet a lot of it too has been rented out to farmers, and there are some magnificent farms over on the Fort Hall Indian Reservation.
Let me ask you, you see the signs that say to the east and the west entering the Fort Hall. What about to the north and the south? What are the boundaries?
You know, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's still a pretty good-sized reservation, and the Indians have done very well, I think, by renting out the farm ground. They have a huge casino and hotel over there, you know. So the Fort Hall Indian Reservation really is, I think, been well done, really, by those that are in authority there. Anyway, in the final years, you know, Chief Pocatello, he withdrew from tribal affairs and lived the rest of his life basically an unhappy man, and in 1884 he died. Now, following his instructions, his body, accompanied by his prized possessions, was dropped into a deep spring by the Snake River in southern Idaho. Well, I skipped a whole page, Zeb. How did I do that?
Well, you know, really, I give you credit that you keep track of everything the way you do, but the look on your face when you went from like page 3 to page 9.
How did I do that?
Well, we're picking up right from where you are.
We're just going to go ahead with his death. How's that?
That sounds good to me.
So,
didn't sound good to him, but it sounds good to me.
Right, okay. So, anyway, where am I now?
Believe me. Should I give you the physical address of my place?
Oh.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, in all the years that you've done this, you've never had this happen, ever.
Okay, well, we're going to go to his burial, all right?
Good.
We're just going to bury the guy.
We're going to bury him and go on.
And bury this segment. All right, so here we go. So they first took the chief and took all of his clothing around him. They tied his guns, his knives, and all of his hunting equipment and relics to the clothing with willow thongs, and they tossed him into the middle of this big spring, and he quickly went to the bottom. Then the Indians took 18 head of horses. They killed them one by one and rolled them into the spring on top of the chief, and they were out of sight because the spring is said to have no bottom. Now, this burial site is now covered by the American Falls Reservoir.
Really?
Okay, so folks, if you look on the map, you'll see American Falls Reservoir, which is a huge dam that serves all of southern Idaho. So somewhere in there is a spring where Chief Pocatello and 18 horses and all of his stuff is buried in that spring.
Don't drink the water.
Don't drink the water. But there's a guy that said, a judge, he says, as I remember Chief Pocatello, he was 70 years old, about 5 feet 10 inches tall, straight as a sapling, and pretty good-looking man. He was always pleasant, and I have spent many hours talking with him, for he came to see me and my wife, sort of liked us. Sometimes we would stay 3 or 4 days and camp a few yards from my house.
You're giving the impression, and I've got to ask you this, did he speak English, or
Yeah.
he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
I feel bad I left out a page.
Well, so do I.
But, you know.
But now, wait a minute. I want to ask you this also.
Okay.
What about his family? Did he have a family?
He did, but there's no mention of them. There's really no, of as far as wife and children.
But like he died in, what'd you say, 1880 something, I believe it was?
Yeah.
1888 or something? Now that we're trying 1884. Okay, so let's take his children from, he died at what, 80 years old?
70.
70.
Yeah, 70, 80.
You know, not too far from the turn of the century.
Yeah.
And how many of his possible family members still reside within the tribe?
You know, okay, I'm going to guess that he's got grandchildren that are grandchildren and great-grandchildren living over on the reservation.
Yeah.
In fact, I would love to find out.
It would be neat to find someone.
You know what? I've actually got a source that I may be able to see if I can find some of the descendants of Chief Pocatello.
When you look at a story like this, and we've talked about this in the past, with the born here, his mother had the great journey from southeastern Montana back here and everything, how much do you validate as fact?
You know, with this story, I validate a lot of it because I have taken this from 3 different sources.
Even though you can't find page 4.
It's right here. Yeah, so I put a lot of credibility into this story.
Really?
Because of the 3 sources that I have a book about Pocatello, and I got some information from Grouse Creek down there in Utah.
Do the modern-day tribes, whether they're Shoshombanics or Apache or Comanche, it doesn't make any difference, do they really follow their family trees?
You know, that's a good question. I think they have a huge tradition of family being very, very important in their lives. So fathers, grandfathers...
what kind of documentation do you think they'd have?
Unfortunately, I think most of it is word of mouth, passed on by word of mouth.
Wouldn't it be amazing if you could find out about this chief and the background of Pocatello and have maybe a descendant on this program?
You know, actually, I think I do have in here that this story that I have told was put together by a great-granddaughter of Pocatello. I'd have to look to see if I've got her name here somewhere. But yeah, she, as I recall, a great-granddaughter is the one that put this together.
Was it his tribe or descendants of his tribe that really led the massacre at American Falls, Massacre Rocks?
You know, I wondered about that. But when you talk about the Shoshone Indians, again, all these different sub-tribes, I'm almost going to guess it's going to be a mixture of Blackfeet as well.
Yeah. True.
They had to be involved in that as well.
True.
And I think they got together, and that's when they said, okay, we're going to do something about the settlers coming across.
I think it would really be a plus for our segment here on Tuesdays if we could find some of the living relatives, whether they're great-grandchildren or whatever, that we could maybe call on the phone.
You know, I'm going to follow this up because this great-granddaughter that wrote this, I may be able to contact her.
Oh, wow.
So that would be fun.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to learn more about how they kept records of their immediate family.
Yeah.
I'd like to know that.
And I would like to know how she got all this information, if it was word of mouth or if somebody did.
And I'll bet you $1,000 check they didn't lose page 4.
I've even lost it again. It's here somewhere. Oh, well, we didn't need it.
Great job, Dr. History. God bless you, man.
Oh, one real quick thing.
Yeah.
Number 1, his name was not Pocatello.
Well, what was it then?
Toneza.
Toneza?
He called himself Toneza, meaning buffalo robe. The Pocatello name was likely created by white people because there was no L in the Shoshone language. Okay, so somebody somehow came up with Pocatello. His real name was Tonaiza, Tonaioza, Tanoza.
And they came up with Pocatello from that?
Where did that come from?
You're kind of blowing and distorting a lot of good theories here this morning.
I am.
Page 4.
Page 4.
Okay.
Put it away.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Dr. History brought to you by our friends at A Child's World, and also, no, not either. They're not bringing it to you, but I'm going to thank them. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World. Thank you very much. Dr. History on Tuesdays. Let's see. I got to tell everybody quickly, and I'll be right with you, Doc. Minidoka County Fair, my goodness sakes, with the theme this year, Country Pride Countrywide. Country Pride Countywide. There we go. It's going to start next week on the 31st, go all the way through the 5th. Wow. Are they going to have fun with lawnmower races on the 31st, and then gymkhanas and junior rodeos and Lions Barbecue on Wednesday, August 2nd with the antique the antique engine show. Whoa, baby, they're going to have fun. Free ice cream and Dutch oven cobbler, too. Thursday, another junior rodeo. Friday and Saturday, open rodeo. And boy, fun, great food, all of this and more. More at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo for this year. Country Pride Countywide over in Rupert. Don't you miss it. Right now, let's send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you. Don't forget this weekend, Friday and Saturday night, the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame and their big induction ceremony on Saturday. Friday night, of course, we're going to be over at the Canyon Crest Event Center, and we're going to have a Tough Enough to Wear Pink Give Cancer the Boot event starting at 5 p.m. on Friday night, and a percentage of the proceeds goes to the breast cancer awareness with the St. Luke's Foundation. And then on Saturday night, Hall of Fame induction starting at 5 with the social hour, dinner at 6, and the induction ceremony. Our big thank yous to D.L. Evans Banks in the state of Idaho, and of course, Tech Distributing, our Coors dealer. Thank you, and contact Katie at the Canyon Crest Event Center for tickets, 733-9392. I have been looking forward to this interview all morning long and very anxious to get her on my program. Christine Douglas Williams, and she is the author of The Challenge of Modernizing Islam. Good morning, Christine. How are you?
Good morning. What a privilege it is to be here. I'm fine, and how are you?
Well, I got to be honest with you, and I'm going to be very upfront about my tens and thoughts on Islam. I am afraid of Islam. I am afraid of how we're being duped, in my opinion, into accepting their ideology into this country, and I think the American public is naive enough not to really understand the dangers. That being said, your turn. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts with the challenge of modernizing Islam.
I agree, first of all, that you have every reason to be afraid, and how I wish that people were afraid, but with fear needs to be knowledge. What you are alluding to there is a form of jihad that is not often discussed, and it's not properly understood, and it is called stealth jihad. It is not very difficult to recognize the violent jihad that we see internationally through ISIS, Al-Qaeda, calls for so-called lone wolf attacks in the West, and there has been since the logical opinion that there is no such thing as a lone wolf attack, because these people committing these attacks are either hooked in by internet or they have been radicalized by some local mosque. But with that said, the stealth jihad is where the problem lies. We are living in a society that has been too welcoming. I'm talking about Europe. I'm talking about North America. I'm referring in general to Western countries that are under democracy and that they have been welcoming in terms of opening their doors to immigration. We do have a strain of Islamism that has entered the West. If one has any idea about the Holy Land Foundation trials and the list of names of organizations, mainstream organizations, that that put themselves out there as the voice of Muslims. It is frightening. These are organizations that have links to the Muslim Brotherhood, links to Hamas. They have an indoctrination of Islamic supremacy, and frankly, it is a motivation for them that Islam is the greatest religion in the world. It needs to expand according to Sharia law, which does stipulate that there is no other religion above it, and conquest is key, either through stealth means or through violent means.
Let me ask you this, and you are such a great spokesman for your book and for this subject, but let's talk about assimilation. There's also a real problem with assimilation. They don't like our culture. They don't want to assimilate into our culture. They are being told not to assimilate and to respect our laws, our rules and regulatory means and methods, and our Constitution. So, why are we so open-armed to these people that absolutely do not like us or our lifestyle?
It is multi-leveled. First of all, when one looks at what is being preached in mosques across the West, extensive studies have been done. Nobody knows the exact percentage of mosques that are radicalized, but a significant number of mosques are radicalized, and it starts there, so that you find a Muslim immigrating to the West. They face every problem, like every immigrant suffers, trying to assimilate, trying to be accepted by the larger society. It takes work to do that. So what people tend to do, and we see it in other societies as well, is that they tend to gather together with those that they're familiar with. You find Italian communities, Chinese communities, etc. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with a doctrine that seeks conquest and radicalization, when these Muslims come to the country, not all of them have that in mind. But when they start going to the local mosque, if that mosque is preaching supremacy and hatred against Muslims and Jews and against democracy and the so-called colonialists, it's not going to be long before that particular Muslim starts to feel a sense of victimization, of which they're being told they are by the imam, and they go out feeling that they're being rejected by the West. So what do? They end up putting their trust into the very radicalization process, and from there, a supremacist attitude is permeated, and it continues. And we need to be putting a stop to that by investigating what is going on in these mosques, which is largely known, but yet they're allowed to continue. We even see Al-Quds rallies publicly speaking about hatred, inciting violence, and we put up with it out of fear for offending Muslims. This Islamophobia narrative is very dangerous, and because we're afraid to be called racist. We need to stand up for democracy.
Let me ask you this, Christine, and I'm very simple with my questions because I am a very blunt person. Can a person that is a Muslim in this country, the United States, be very affiliated and assimilated to the red, white, and blue of our country and our Constitution, or is it all a false front building?
There are Muslims out there that I have met, that I have known of. First of all, I have lived in another culture for some time, and this was in the Caribbean, where there were Muslims with Hindus, with Christians, and they all got along historically. Recently, Islamism has also penetrated that country, and so has the Saudi dollars, which is infiltrating the mosques, as well as there was a coup attempt in Trinidad by Abu Bakr. In fact, that is the only coup attempt on a Western nation, and it was almost successful, but it didn't happen. The point I'm trying to make is that historically there have been Muslims that got along with everybody. There are still Muslims that get along with everybody, and the Muslims that are interviewed in my book, those are Muslims that have been screaming from the rooftops for some time that you guys don't realize what's happening in mosques. They're preaching against you. They're preaching hatred against Christians and Jews. And this was a long time ago, before these extensive investigations happened. I had an open line talk show, and it was Muslims that I started to learn that from and realize what's going on here.
Okay,
so there's definitely Muslims that are on our side. And I know the other side that is very mistrusting, and we should be very careful. They will say, well, then how could they still be in Islam that preaches hate, that preaches violence, FGM, still cutting off heads, and so forth, and conquest? But the point is, it's not that simple. You're looking at people that have, through centuries, have learned also to love through this very doctrine of the good part of the Quran, which is the first part, the Meccan version. It is not simple to say, well, Islam preaches hatred, so every Muslim ascribes to that. There are many Muslims, a lot of Muslims, that just want to live in peace, and they want to see Islam reform to modern-day life. Stoning was once upon a time in the Jewish tradition, once upon a time in the Christian tradition. There were forced conversions. That no longer happens. Those are two faiths, very different, definitely, in context and in text. But at the same time, they did reform. They did come up to modern-day civilization. And we have come a long way in evolving in terms of human rights. So the purpose of this book is to try to respect those Muslims that for whatever reason they have a right to stay with whatever faith they choose. And if they choose to stay in that faith because it brought them comfort through the decades, the centuries of family heritage that were peaceful in fact, and also suffered at the hands of Islamists, they have every right to do so. We're not going to obliterate, nor should we want to, the world's 1.6 billion Muslims, but we need to stand up strong for democracy and only partner with those who respect that democracy.
Let me ask you this question, and I noticed one of the names on your list here of people that you have interviewed is a person that's been on my program at least 3 or 4 times, and that's the person Zuhdi Jasser. I have a lot of respect for Zuhdi, and he's been very open and forthright on my program, but with his remarks about watching the mosque and watching what Islam is doing in their jihad, is he and others like him, Zuhdi Jasser and others, are they putting themselves at risk for the grassroots jihadists that want to go back to the originality of the Quran?
He certainly is. And many Muslim reformists and moderates are actually on death fatwa lists because of this. What is going on globally is a major turf war, and that is something that we have not waken up to yet. And the sooner we do, the better. You mentioned Zuhdi Jasser. There are others like him. This is what he recognizes what he's fighting. There are those who also recognize this. There are reformists today as we speak that are living in Islamic states, and their only means of expression is through the internet. So they use various names to hide themselves, and they use the internet. And there's still a risk in these countries, but they're trying to get the message out that Islam has been in strictures for 1,400 years, and it definitely needs a facelift. There needs to be a challenge against the ulama, a challenge against the despots, against the enemies of democratic freedoms, against enemies of human rights, against those that oppress women, those who will persecute Christians and so forth. There needs to be a fight against that group. And those that are willing to come on board and help us with that fight, we need to work with them to do so.
Why do you think, and you are excellent in this topic, but why do you think that the Democratic Party per se in our United States has basically fallen in lockstep with protecting the Muslims and accepting their PR campaign? Oh, poor is us. Oh, us poor Muslims. Everybody hates us. And the Democrats seem to fall in right with their poor baby routine. Why is that?
I will go so far as to say, and I won't mention names, but for some of them, it's sheer greed, being lured in by a lot of oil money and having certain campaigns funded by these very groups of people. For others, it's a sense of we need to accept everybody because they have no understanding. They're so self-centered and self-focused that they cannot understand that a group of people could hate Westerners and democracy so intensely that they could actually smile in your face and stab you in your back. So the big advice I will actually give your listeners today is to do research on that document, the Muslim Brotherhood Plan for North America. It details bit by bit the sinister, insidious infiltration process using Westerners, pretending to be their friends in order to infiltrate in the name of Islam.
What about the news media, Christine, as far as they also have joined in lockstep with a kind of a poor baby routine for Islam? What about the news media here in this country? Why have journalists just basically swallowed the hook?
First of all, again, I would say, because I started out as a young journalist myself, journalists often, at a certain level, not every journalist, in fact most, don't have autonomy to report on what he or she would like to report. They have a culture with the organization that they're working for, and they have a certain slant in terms of the ideology that that particular publication is portraying publicly. And the owners of production of these particular news outlets, they have their own groups that they choose to socialize with, whether it be Islamists, whether it be the likes of the cronies of George Soros. There is a huge network that is working against democracy, the likes of George Soros as well as Islamists working hand in hand. These are powerful forces of socialism and Islamism, and those who are living in Western societies today are actually being victimized by these groups, being lied to by these groups, and we need to wake up. That word Islamophobia, as an example, seems to be a harmless word, but it is a very dangerous word because it is shutting down our freedom of speech, our freedom of expression, and even not allowing us to express the truth about what Islamism is actually about.
Let me ask you on the current Trump administration with the ban on certain countries, refugees coming in from certain countries, but we have already seen many refugees come into this United States of America, many of which are right here in my area. I am very concerned about their background and their ties because I don't think the vetting process has been as thorough as we're led to believe. What are your thoughts?
You should be very concerned. I was speaking recently to, but I'll give you two levels here. I was speaking recently to an Iranian dissident who was very much on our side and aggressively fights this force of Islamism. And she is no longer a Muslim, by the way, but she's human rights loving, and she respects people for their humanity. She actually works in one of the settlement agencies, and she says, Christine, you've got Muslims coming into this country who are very kind. They appreciate the West. They want to learn from the West. They're excited about being free. But a lot of them, before you know it, they go to the local mosque, and they're at risk for being radicalized. She even met one Muslim that was telling her, my wife is not behaving herself. She needs a beating. And she told this fellow, no, you don't speak like that in this country, nor do you do those things. This is against the law in this country. And he just looked at her as innocently as ever, as though he just learned a new lesson. So we're dealing with immigrants coming into the country that don't know. They come from countries where barbaric practices are the norm. And in Canada, we see a situation where the government is trying to shut down the use of the word barbaric practices because it's offensive to Muslims. You would find that the Muslims in the book that I interviewed, yes, of course, they're human beings. Nobody wants to be offended, but they respect the Western right to free speech, freedom of expression, freedom to discuss, and even freedom to offend.
Let me ask you real quick. I'm almost out of time, and I want to shotgun some quick questions at you. What about the Canadian story regarding Prime Minister Trudeau awarding $8 million to a terrorist Muslim killer, whereas the families are going to get virtually nothing? How in the world can that be justified?
It is absolutely appalling, and it cannot be justified by any terms. And by the way, it was $10.5 million. And you will see in articles that, this was impossible, we had to do it because it would have cost more money if it had gone through the system. That's just a bunch of excuses being made. There is no excuse whatsoever to pay a criminal $10.5 million. Had it cost more, then there needs to be transparency, and we need to find out what it is these lawyers are charging, why, and we need more openness in terms of the process with processing these jihadist thugs through the Western system. But no jihadist should be awarded $10.5 million and walk away happy on the backs of victims, one that was blinded and another one that was murdered in cold blood at the age of 28 with children that have to suffer his loss as well as his wife. It is appalling, and there's no excuse.
You must be absolutely outraged when you see what's happening in Europe, when you see what's happening in France, when you see what's happening with all the incoming Muslims and the problems that have been incurred there, and it's almost like our government and our leadership is almost inviting that same problem here.
I am horrified what I see happening. But what I find is that politicians and leaders are not being given enough accountability. I like to use the example of expectation from criminals. When you're looking at a criminal jihadist or even a stealth jihadist who is determined and hell-bent on takeover, you can expect nothing more than that process of takeover. However, you should expect something different from the person who has the key to lock that force away. We're looking at Westerners who are allowing people to come into the country, who are actually aiding and abetting in the slow but sure takeover of Western civilization. Those are the ones that need to be held accountable, and the outrage should be against them. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of people in the West who absolutely have gotten to the point where they hate all Muslims, where I'm now getting called evil along with the moderates and reformists who are trying to reform Islam into the modern-day system of democratic human rights.
All right, quickly.
That anger should be toward the politicians who are allowing this kind of a force to insidiously take over our country.
Absolutely. Quickly, tell us about your book, The Challenge of Modernizing Islam. Where can we find it? Give us all the outlets, please.
The Challenge of Modernizing Islam is available in every major bookstore because it's still being distributed. You walk into a bookstore, if you want to have it ordered, you could ask for it, or if you just type in The Challenge of Modernizing Islam on the internet, it's available at Amazon.com, .ca, Walmart.com, even Target's, Barnes & Noble, Chapters Indigo, every bookstore.
All right. Christine Douglas Williams, I hope you will consent to coming back after I buy your book, read your book, and have you back for a follow-up. God bless you, and thank you for a very good interview. Thank you very much. Very, very nice lady, Christine Douglas Williams, and very knowledgeable with her book, and I've got to go get this one, The Challenge of Modernizing Islam. Holy cow, we got to get a weather forecast here from Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. All the delicious meats. They've got a retail meat department over there. You got to stop over and enjoy all the delicious meats for your picnic, your family gatherings, everything at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
Well, it looks like we could get somewhat of a little bit of a reprieve here with the weather. Good morning with your Zeb of the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron sitting in for Gina Jameson. 20% chance of isolated thunderstorms today, a high near 85. Then for tonight, 20 to 30% chance of showers, expecting the low just about 61. Then for tomorrow, chance of showers going to be increasing to about 40%, highs of 85. Slight chance of thunderstorms for Wednesday night, lows around 60. Going to be clearing off towards the end of the weekend. Going to see highs getting up about to 90, into the mid-90s there as we go into the weekend. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. I'm Scotty Cameron.
Hey, buddy, I appreciate it. Thanks, Scotty. Brought to everybody by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Oh, yeah. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Also want to say thank you to our great, great friends, major sponsor, our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you right here in the Magic Valley with the best of tires for your pickup, SUV, your cars, your trailers, everything. Tires like the Backcountry Touring HT, outstanding ride quality, the ultimate in durability, safe driving. That's what they want you to enjoy so you can get where you're going this summer. The very best in brake service by highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. But above all, I want to stress the service. They come out at a high lope to serve you at each location. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Hey, Wheels, turn on your microphone real fast. Are you there, buddy?
I am.
I forgot to mention to you, I have an appointment at 11:30 I cannot be late for. I'm telling you what, if you'll play an extra tune for us, I'm going to jump on the highway and scoot to that meeting. We'll remind everybody that I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06 with more of Zeb at the Ranch, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Wheels, take it away.